You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. Summer is festival season, and the Agassiz Chamber Music Festival gives us the opportunity to bask in the joys of small ensemble playing. Returning Sunday, June 4th, the week-long festival presents a variety of musical offerings. And to hear more, I'm joined virtually by Artistic Director Paul Marleyn. Good to see you again, Paul.
Great to see you, Simon.
Well, let me offer you a premature welcome back to Winnipeg, as you haven't quite returned to town yet, though I imagine you must so be looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'll be in town as of the 29th of the month. And yeah, it's always a joy to be back in town, to see old friends, and to get together with new Agassiz friends as well who are joining for the festival.
Now, the 2023 festival lineup has been announced, and once again, as always, it seems, Paul, you present a bountiful musical crop, roughly 20 events over 7 days, ranging from performances to workshops to interviews. It all begins on Sunday, June 4th, with a concert titled Summerland, which is a great way to begin a summer festival, I think.
Yeah, well, actually, the title came from a beautiful solo piano piece by William Grant Still, Afro-American composer. So we're pretty much opening the festival with that piece, and it somehow encapsulates so beautifully the character of the festival, and the time of year in Winnipeg, such a glorious time um, in Manitoba. So yeah, it seemed to fit beautifully.
It is a wonderfully diverse first musical offering, and as you say, drawing on a title from William Grant Still work, which was later orchestrated and actually just recently recorded. And we chatted with a couple of the players involved in that recording a little while back, but I digress. We're going to hear the solo piano version that features an American pianist, John Novacek, who's performing that title work in addition to a plethora of other great players on the program. We're lucky to have him coming to the festival this year, aren't we?
We are, yeah. John is a wonderfully eclectic artist. I mean, he's a composer, he's an improviser, he's a super creative guy. Actually, Paul Williamson, the wonderfully talented young Winnipeg born and bred Canadian pianist, will actually be playing that Summerland. But
Indeed,
John
you're right. Yes, my bad.
No problem. But John is doing plenty in the festival, including he's going to be improvising to a Buster Keaton movie, The Scarecrow, which I'm really looking forward to. He's done it a bunch of times, and it was his suggestion. And we've done some festivals before, so I've seen him at work. So that'll be really special.
Now, as I get my dates crossed, he performing on Monday, and we'll have the opportunity to meet him in an interview led by the one and only Andrea Ratuski. So glad that she's back this year conducting interviews and serving as host and also performer. We might get to that later. Now, it's tough to run through this entire festival lineup because there is just so much that is being offered, Paul. But can you tell us about some of the other guest players who are going to be joining Agassiz this year? Daniel Bolshoi, guitarist, violinist Kathy French, and violist Astis Valdimarsdottir, whose name I hope I'm pronouncing correctly.
Yeah, you are. That's pretty good. Austis is she's an old friend from some years ago, and her husband Mick Sterling, who is a cellist coming for the festival. Mick and I were at school together in Boston, and I got to know Austis through Mick, and we were all three living in London at one time together. So yeah, they're fantastic people. Austis is a wonderful violist, former violist in the Chilingirian string quartet. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to them both coming. Daniel Bolshoi is yeah, we've actually toured together playing guitar and cello duos together. So it's so nice that he can come to the festival, and we're going to play some of that repertoire. And he opens the door to a different type of repertoire, kind of sambas, Brazilian sambas, and flamenco guitar, which I think is really wonderful. We haven't had a guest guitarist before in the festival, so I'm very happy that that's happening. But yeah, there's a bunch of really wonderful instrumentalist coming into town. Kathy French has actually played once before, and I noticed that actually last time she was here, she played a Dvorak trio as well. She's come just once for the festival, but you probably know she came to town to play for 1 year as associate concertmaster of the Winnipeg Symphony.
Mhm.
So she has many friends and admirers in Winnipeg.
And there's, well, I mean, plenty of great players to admire as part of the lineup, and then some familiar faces too. I mean, Carl Stobie, Amina Rose Chung, and Yuri Hooker, and as you mentioned, Paul Williamson, who's going to be returning, in addition to so many more. And some of these concerts just sound so intriguing. Intoxication on Monday, featuring music of Von Bingen and Dvorak, and then the Grieg violin sonatas on Thursday, and a concert titled From the Folk, and then Voodoo Dolls exploring the darker side of things on Friday. I'm curious, was there an overarching vision when you were putting this season together, Paul, or does it come together in sort of more pragmatic fashion as you determine who might be available to play when?
Well, I'd say there is something of a vision. I mean, it's such an interesting time right now where the zeitgeist is very much, I think, reminding us how important diversity is, how much gender equity is important. There's so many really important social um, philosophies. I think we're in the arts world. I think we're thinking very much in that direction. I think that's terrific. So that zeitgeist, as I mentioned, is very much a background to the festival and the programming. I hope that the programs show that diversity. I mean, we have composers from Azerbaijan and Guinea and Mali and all sorts of different places. There's some African American composers. So yeah, there's a lot of variety there. We also have, I think, some important indigenous content in the festival this year. The Métis soprano Cameron DeWar, I think is she's a wonderful person, and she really wanted to present a recital of almost completely indigenous repertoire. That's a real speciality of hers. So I'm looking forward to hearing that too. And we have a work by Karen Sunebacker, who is an old friend and actually former student when I was teaching at the University of Manitoba. She's now a pretty important composer, as we all know.
And it isn't just classical at this year's Agassiz. The Juno Award-winning Will Bonis and his trio performing on June 7th. You must be excited to have them as part of the bill too.
Yeah, my dad was a professional jazz sax player, so jazz was a quite a big part of my childhood, and I played tenor sax myself in my school band and a youth orchestra, youth band too. So yeah, I'm really happy that we could get Will Bonis and his trio to take part in the festival. I've wanted to include some jazz in the festival for many years.
And finally, it is happening. Very, very exciting indeed. And you've been talking about the variety and how much is being offered. Can we talk a little bit more about glimpses of the future, which is an opportunity being given to young musicians as part of Agassiz this year?
Yeah, well, we're always seeking new ways that we can engage the talented young Canadian and Manitoban musicians. And we glimpse the future. We decided it would be a good idea to create a competition for to attract, I guess, the attention of a larger number of young performers who um, because in a way for a young performer, if you are always in the back of your mind, you're having to think a little bit of your biography and your CV to build your future. So having competitions that somehow appear to give you the seal of approval helps that. So it was actually a wonderful idea that came from Luis, one of our board members, who was actually appeared in the festival last year. He's a talented young cellist who's now playing in the Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra. So I thought it was a wonderful idea. So we're going through that process of evaluating applications. So yeah, that's a really nice new development.
Now, most, if not all, of these concerts are taking place at CMU Laudamus Auditorium, though I know that there is a virtual offering that's being presented and a couple of TBDs when it comes to locations. There are both noon hour and evening concerts being presented, plus a few other times thrown in there. Festival passes available for $125 for adults, senior passes $115, and the real deal here is under 30 passes for $45. So yeah, if you're under 30, take advantage of that. Standalone tickets can also be purchased, but as always, I feel like we say this all the time, Paul, but the best bang for buck comes with those festival passes, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and we want to keep the festival very much affordable. We I've never seen classical music as elitist. I think it's music that speaks to everybody from all backgrounds and all financial situations. So we feel really strongly about that. We try to keep the pass at a very reasonable rate.
Now, as listeners are probably wondering, agassizfestival.com, the place to go to get those tickets and passes. We will also be sure to share the link up at classic107.com. And the last thing I want to ask you, Paul, which is probably the toughest question I'm going to ask you, and you've sort of alluded to this already, but is there one concert you're most looking forward to? Be that a concert that you're participating in, or perhaps one that you're watching? I don't know if this is sort of like picking a favorite child, but how does one go about choosing? Is there one that's starred for you?
I think it is a little bit like picking a favorite child. One loves all children equally. But I can say that I'm excited that we're presenting the AB Beach Piano Quintet because it's such a wonderful work, and
Mhm.
it's really not so well known. And there's really an outburst of performances of that piece this summer. I've been asked to play it in a bunch of other festivals, and I think because it's part of this again this kind of zeitgeist of people of artistic directors and performers looking again at the repertoire that we know and love, or perhaps don't know as well as we might, and finding these gems. And I think that's one of those gems.
And that is opening night, June 4th. So all the reason to start there and then just keep going back to Agassiz for more gems that are going to be rediscovered. And I'm glad you point out that Amy Beach because we just heard her Gaelic Symphony as part of the WSO 75th anniversary concert season. A brilliant work, one of those that, so often gets overlooked. This quintet is just so well crafted. There's so much to dive into, and just one of those composers. So thrilled to have her back in the spotlight. And the thing that I just find so amazing is, for the most part, just a self-taught player and a wonderful pianist she was.
Yeah, yes, it's amazing, and you're so right that when you listen to this piece, this is the work of such an experienced, seasoned composer, and the sense of structure, and it's not just a kind of gushing, emotional piece that coming from a 21-year-old. She's really a wonderful composer.
And many wonderful composers to check out as part of Agassiz Festival. The 2023 lineup available at agassizfestival.com. We'll also have all the details up at classic107.com. So much to choose from this year. Paul, as always, wonderful seeing you and safe travels to Winnipeg.
Thanks so much, and it's great to see you too.